Welcome to Tales from the Old World, a Warhammer Fantasy podcast, sponsored by War of the Ever-Chosen, a 6th edition fantasy event with some of the most fun and unique scenarios in the hobby. Go to talesfromtheoldworld.com to get your tickets today to claim the title of Ever-Chosen.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 3 of the podcast, and this week we're going to be talking about how to play better with or how to beat Beastman armies. I had a great chat with Phil Ashton from Road To ReIkland, which is a Warhammer podcast, and they're also organisers of some great tabletop events, which I've been to before. He's a veteran Beastman player, specifically Nurgle. We get into the strengths and weaknesses of Beastmen, the speed of Beastman armies, and using speed to their advantage and how to deal with them. We go over Nurgle magic and how it could be potentially the most powerful magic lore in the game. How Beastmen should set up against different races. What monsters Phil loves bringing in his lists and using them to great effect. We go over the ambush and unruly rules, which are unique to Beastmen, and how they can both be an advantage and a curse to some players. We go over using characters and bray shamans as their magic users. We discuss magic items Phil never leaves the house without, and some more. But anyway, let's get into it. It's a fun chat with Phil, who's a great lad, a good player, and winner of the most northern accent in the world 2017 award, which sounds like a made-up award, but I attend the event every year. So anyway, here's the episode. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Not so bad. So, thanks for coming on. We're going to talk about your love. It's really Nurgle Beastmen, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Is it always Nurgle? It's never. You never mix it up.
Yeah. So one of the things is when I started getting back into like fantasy, especially in 6th edition, the person that I play the most is a lad called Max, who you know, and he wanted to do chaos, and I did as well at the same time. And we couldn't really think of why two chaos armies would fight each other. So he took Zeech or Zench, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, we did go into that a little bit. About how
then I said, well, if you're going to do that, I will then do Nurgle. So that was how I pretty much started, collected Nurgle Beastmen. And that was pretty much it. I just went hardcore straight into him. No other god at all, just Nurgle.
So, going back, how long? When did you start getting into the hobby? When did you get back into it, and how long have you been playing with the Beastmen? Should we say?
So,
just to say that you're not full of crap, and you might know what you're talking about.
So, started in fantasy like back in 5th edition. So I think I would have been like 10.
Yeah.
Kind of fell out of it, like most people do. We find beer and women, and then it's like, don't need those.
Every single podcast I've done up to this point has said the same thing. It's been beer and women, just like those things that, and then it certainly gets to a point where you're like kind of sick of beers and women and you just want to be left alone. You're like, I can paint little things.
Actually, so that's when I got back into it. So got back into like I was playing tabletop games like from about 28 again, 27. Then got back into fantasy just as we were going into lockdown. So I bought like loads of stuff. That everything seemed to be going really cheap. I didn't really understand it. So I bought loads of stuff. I was like, yeah, let's get back into it. Max was really convincing me.
Well, like on eBay, like on eBay and things.
Yeah,
cheap on eBay, really? I get the occasional thing, but I suppose people go nuts during lockdown when they sort of just getting rid of everything in the house.
So yeah, just from a Beastman, I picked up 68 just gore and ungore, like a mixture for like 38 quid, which I was just like, that's pretty much my army. So that's good. Just got like really good deals. I just carried on with that really. So I've been playing now for fantasy for probably about 4 years, but like played a lot. The past 3 years. I was playing like 2 or 3 games a week, or on tabletop simulator because I couldn't leave the house. Like trying to figure out how to get that music as well.
And do you do Total War as well? It's when you do the trifecta. If you play a lot, you do that and Total War. Then that's just your life just goes away in a blink of an eye.
I love Total War, but I'm absolutely horrendous at it. I'd be useless at running a nation, honestly, because I I don't know when to be diplomatic with any other race apart from like my own, it seems.
Fair enough. All right, so what do you want to take for like? So what we'll do is we'll start off talking about Beastmen as a whole, and then kind of like specifically your list and what you do a little bit different. But if I was going up against a Beastman army, what are the typical list I'm going to see in terms of if somebody's actually doing a good list? What are they going to?
So for a good list, you'll see like the special slots just maxed out with Minotaurs. So they'll take three units of 4 possibly with great weapons. They just really, really good. You know, got really good charge range, got a really good strength on them, strength 6. So 3 don't really make it into combat, but 4 you can lose that 1 and still get there. So that's really, really good. That's one of the things that you see in pretty much every Beastman army, I think. Then going on, it's just gore herds, bray herds. Because the skirmishers and also can rank up, you can cover a lot of the board and you've got a 360-degree charge. So big, massive herds are something that people usually take. A big herd's like 150 points. So it's quite a cheap throwaway unit.
Yeah.
So about
really
2 or 3 of them. And then chariots, loads of chariots. 85 points for the chariot is just an absolute steal.
Yeah.
So
what do Tuskors get? Do they get +2 strength
so
on the charge?
Tuskors get +2 strength on the charge.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely insane. You've got 2 strength 5 attacks from these Tuskors. I've got 5 chariots, and I love using my chariots. I'm just very bad with my chariots. They always seem to get nailed straight away. I suppose, like if people are shooting at them, they're not shooting at anything else.
Yeah.
One of the things you'll see in the gore herd though is that everyone will make sure there's a foe render in there. That's like their
champion,
captain sort of thing, champion. But it gives them an extra boost of leadership and gives them like an extra boost of strength from that. So you always see that there.
Which is huge for Beastmen because I think I remember talking to you when I was converting my Fimir army, which was kind of like, and initially chose kind of like Beastmen, but it was I had a couple of runouts with the Beastmen, and the leadership knackered me. That extra 1 for going from 6 is a Beastman 6?
From 6 to 7. That's absolutely huge.
It's a big 1 jump, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big boost. But with the way the shooting happens against Beastmen, especially the beast herds, is that you target the Ungor first. So you're like your champion, your foe rendered pretty safe. He's not going to get pinged off by a shot or anything because they have to kill the Ungor first.
So any unit that's coming towards me, if I shoot at it, it will go through the little Ungors first. So it's like a little meat shield as you come towards it. Yeah,
so they pick up the Ungor as like 4-point shields, and they bite the dust first. No,
if you actually get into combat, they then can fight on a second rank if you have any left, like.
Yeah. And so the gore push forward into the thing. So you don't really have to have your gore at the front. But if you do, then when they charge, they go forward, or you can have them in the second rank, so you can then have more run gore at the front. You know, there's a lot of way to keep gore pretty safe because they have no armor whatsoever. So they're only really good when they get into combat.
Yeah.
Being weapon skill 4 and most things being weapon skill 3. They can churn through big blocks quite easily.
Okay, so what's different about your list that you say is slightly different to everybody for the typical Beastman, would you say?
So mine is that everything has the mark of Nurgle, which I max out my character slots. So I have 4 units that can cause fear, as well as other things that cause fear. So sometimes when units are wanting to charge you, it's like, right, we have to take a fear test now.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I didn't realize that. And like, you'll find that a lot of people will fail it. So then I get to pick what I want to do, whether that's moving the unit out of a charge arc, or if that's, all right, well, now I know you're within range, I'm going to charge you instead.
Doesn't is it Mark and Nurgle that give you Minotaurs? Minotaurs? I never fuck. I was to say it. But doesn't it give you extra wounds, or is it no? It's the scaly skin.
It gives you scaly skin of a 5-up with you can take light armor. So your Minotaurs have got 4-up save, which is pretty respectable.
Yeah, because that was always the thing that. Do you know when you're kind of thinking of, do I take ogres or do I take Minotaurs? Are the better fighters, but at least you can have some heavy armor on.
Yeah.
Ogres, so it depends on who you're going up against. But that's the only thing about. But if you get the mark, yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Yeah, so like the Minotaurs having 4-up save really helps them getting into combat. 4-up save is pretty decent on most things. So yeah, that's fantastic. Also, your characters, when they get to cause fear, if you buy the mark on them, they all get +1 wound.
That's it. Yeah.
So there's not a lot of things that can kill your characters outright. Your shamans have got 3 wounds when they're the hero choice. Your lord has got 4 wounds, which is really hard. Apart from a greater demon, nothing has killed him outright in 1 round of combat.
Oh really?
Yeah. He's like,
which greater demon was it?
So it was a calm one. It just made him a gooey smear. Unfortunately, just like ran absolutely through. But
there's not much you can do against a bloodthirster, really, is it?
No, there's not. You know, you've lost it. You know what I mean? As soon as that charges you, you know you've lost it. But yeah, so Chaos Lords, even though they're absolute combat monsters, haven't been able to kill him straight out. I remember playing a 6-way game with you.
Oh yeah.
He was fighting a Carnosaur and an Old Blood.
Yeah,
and killed the Carnosaur and then nearly killed the Old Blood afterwards. So yeah, he's pretty tough.
What items was the outfit? What your general was he usually got?
Oh, right. So and like every Chaos player who has a fighting character has these items.
Yeah.
So he has the Armor of Damnation.
Of course he
does. Makes you re-roll all successful rolls to hit, which is Max's personal favourite.
Yeah.
He has a weapon called the Slaughterer's Blade, which is a great weapon. But for every wound that I cause, on a 4+, I get a wound back.
So that makes up for the armor again, doesn't it? If you haven't got magic armor, kind of, yeah.
So if I go, I really want to go second with him because nothing can really take 4 wounds off him, and then I can get my wounds back.
Yeah.
If I go first, I don't have that ability. And then, what's it called now? It's a magic item. It's a chaos one. Gives you 4-up invulnerable save. I forgot what it's called. If you're running in the magic phase, you become a spawn. And that's
Gaze of the Gods. Yeah,
Gaze of the Gods. So I take Gaze of the Gods as well. And
is that 4-up ward?
Yeah, 4-up ward. But if you are running in your magic phase, he becomes a spawn. But I've never had him become a spawn.
Which is fun, which is still make it fun in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's like annoying if it happens, but it's still like he's still in it.
Yeah. But,
especially if he's running and he's only on 1 wound left.
Yeah.
And surely you get back as a spawn. That's actually
I mean, I wouldn't be bothered if that was the case. You've done your bit now. But yeah. So that's really, really good. You know, that's my basic combat lord. I always tool him out like that. I've tried different things, but he's able to like kill chariots by himself because he's strength 7. Only has to have 1 hit. Destroys a chariot.
Is he always in a unit? Is he always in Bestigors or is he?
So this is changing, but I've got like a huge unit of Bestigor, like 20 odd Bestigor, and I love taking them. But they're absolutely rubbish.
Why is that? Because they're so much better. But every time you play Beastman, Bestigor never the MVP of the game. Though they should be because you can mark them, can't you? They've usually got better armor. You can have great. So why are they always so annoying?
They're just so expensive compared to everything else. So like I usually take like 16 Bestigor with the Mark of Nurgle, with a War Banner. Full command, so it's starting to get priced. It's like 350 points.
Are they core Bestigor? They are core, aren't they? They're not special.
Yeah, they're core.
Yeah.
They're slow compared to everything else. Like they're still movement 5 and marching 5.
Yeah.
But your other units, your herds, have got that 360-degree movement.
Yeah,
so
they're in ranks, rather than skirmishes like gores. Yeah.
The only thing that I like doing with my bestie is because they cause fear. If I win combat and outnumber you, you auto break. That's the whole. They're not there to cause damage. They're just there to make sure there's more of them. And if they do, they instantly win. So that's the whole idea between my bestie. But I've run them quite a bit now, and I think the last event I went to, Dark Omens, they were just getting smashed apart. So I was like, "You're being retired."
What happened? I know you.
So I've never played Tomb Kings before, but apparently I have something called a casket of souls.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know what this did. Apart from
that's a harsh lesson.
It was 2 versus 2, and they had 2 of these.
Oh, you're playing 2 Tomb Kings?
Yeah. And my bestie girl could see both caskets.
Right.
And because they're only they had the Lord in there, so they were leadership 8, so it wasn't too bad. But they were like, oh yeah, roll 2d6 plus 2. Anything over that, they just die. All right, okay. So at the end,
it's brutal. That is.
Yeah, at the end there was one. What was it? I had my Lord in there and a banner bearer. So this 300 odd point unit with the Lord is just 2 guys after turn 2, and it's like, oh, you guys, we need to have a chat. You need to.
Yeah, no, they can be rough, those guys. So do you find that because you kind of go to the strengths a little bit, what are the real weaknesses there, which you can say things like, armor's one.
I don't
for anybody who's about to thinking of starting a Beastman army, which you're like, right, this is what you need to make up for or think about.
Armor isn't really that much of a bother for me, because most things, I've only got light or heavy armor. It's only when you start looking at knights that you start really getting the benefit of good armor saves. So I'm not really fussed about having no armor at all. It's the leadership. You can have, by having a unit flee, it can have a massive chain reaction, and you can find that most of your army has just ran off the board because you've been able to destroy a unit. And I think that's the main thing with Beastmen. You've got to make sure that you can't really be that precious. Things are going to run off. You just know they are going to be. So the idea is that you have just more units than the other person, so you can account for some that die and some that run away.
Right.
So the leadership is really poor.
Yeah, because I suppose you go up against a shooty army, they wipe out a unit of dogs. If you've got a unit of 5 dogs, and you've got a unit of gores next to it with leadership 6. That could start.
They've gone. That's it. They've disappeared. But the other thing as well, if you have a unit of dogs, you've probably got 2 or 3 units near them. They're leadership 5. So those units are going as well. So you can just have this huge chain reaction where everything's just running around.
So how do you combat that then? Is it just having more? Is there magic items that can help you? Is there the magic help?
No, there's no magic items that can really help. That's just it. That's just tough. What you can do, though, there are units, like when we're talking about Minotaurs before, they're leadership 8.
Right.
In your rare slots, you can either take Dragon Ogres or Dragon Ogre Shaggoths that are leadership 8, and I think leadership 9 might be leadership 8, the Shaggoths.
Shaggoth immune to psychology as well, maybe, I think.
I think only if, yes, they might be. They might be. But you can start littering in things that are leadership 8, so you're a bit more safe and secure. So you can break up your army in that way. So you don't really want to put all your beast herds together, because it only takes one to start running, then they're all gone.
So when you're laying it down, kind of have a gore, then a Minotaurs next to it, then another gore, then a Dragon Ogres. Okay, that makes it tricky with deployment.
Try to do it. Try and have a core Minotaurs or Dragon Ogres to just break it up a little bit. A couple more core things, If I've got my general smack bang in the middle, he's giving his leadership bubble, so I'm not really that bothered. But you have to really think about where you're putting things, really.
Okay, so do you use the ambush rule? I remember we've talked about this before, where this, again, when I was considering using beast rules, where... So for anybody who doesn't know, what is it, like at the start of second turn, you roll your leadership. If you pass, you can come on it. Well, how you explain it? So go on.
So at the start of your second turn, your general, who has to be a beast lord or a wargul, can blow his bray horn. So this is the thing: if your general dies on turn 2, those things just walk on from your thing. So
right, okay, yeah.
So you blow your bray horn. The unit has to pass a leadership test, right? So they've got to pass on leadership 6 or 7 if you bought the foe render.
Yeah.
Really always need to buy the foe render. And then if you pass it, they come on where you want them to. If they don't, you roll a scatter die, and then you draw a line to wherever that is, and they come on from there. So you could find out they've come like far left-hand side of the table where there's nothing around them. They spent the next 4 turns just walking
behind your army, isn't it? When it comes right from your side. And
I do use it now and again, and I usually take an item called the Staff of Darkoth, which in my magic phase allows me to declare a charge.
Right. Oh yeah. So you can march forward, and then if you're in range, charge again.
Yeah. So the whole idea is my unit comes on from ambush. I use the staff, and I always pop a power stone on that shaman that's in that unit. So I'm rolling.
Oh, that's risky, that though. So you're putting points into a unit with a shaman and a foe renderer, and a magic item. That could go bad for me.
So I think it's about the unit I usually take with the shaman is about 350 points.
Right.
And if it comes off and I roll under 7 and it comes where I want, and then I roll my 5 dice, it gets that charge off, it's glorious. As this unit that they charge into just disappears.
Yeah.
But there's that time when you roll an 8, you've got no other way to stop it. The unit comes on behind where your army is and spends the next 4 turns walking forward, and your 200-point shaman with his magic staff is doing absolutely bugger all.
So how often would you do that then? Or would it depend who you're going up against or how desperate you are?
So if there's a person who's got a lot of artillery, I tend to do it a little bit more. I only really ever put like 1 or 2 beast herds in. I don't put huge amounts in. So if I'm playing like dwarves, I do it with them, or the dark elves and high elves are another ones that I really do try and do ambush with. Apart from that, there isn't many more armies that I consider it.
Can you is there a limit to the amount of units you can use an ambush, or is it?
You must have half of your army that can ambush
on the field
on the table.
Yeah. Right.
So if you're putting every character can ambush. So if you're taking 4 characters, you can put in 4 units.
Right.
As long as they're not in those units. So you've just got to make sure you've got the right split and everything like that.
So do you, like you kind of touched on it then, really, is there other races that you really change tactics for, or do you find yourself playing very similar a lot of the time?
Yeah, Bretonians, I just don't unpack my army. I'm just like, no, you can have this one, mate. It's all right. Good game.
So have a cup of tea, go out for a smoke, and then come back for the next one. Yeah,
I'll get you a pint and a Kit Kat. Thanks a lot. There are some armies that I do change up for. Dwarves is a massive one because my army's really, really fast. Even though it's only movement 5 without a lot of cavalry, it can go anywhere. So, but their artillery just destroys the unit. So I do put a lot of things in ambush. When I'm playing goblins, that's something that I've got to be really careful about because they've just got 1 billion fanatics. Yeah, and I can't afford to take the losses from the fanatics. Yeah. So it's just trying to make sure I've got expendable units to try and like fish them out a little bit. Or
who do you
if I've got
usually send then? Dogs or who?
dogs?
Yeah,
dogs. Like something I don't really care about, dogs or dragon ogres. Now this may sound really weird that I'd send dragon ogres.
Couldn't they take out some dragon ogres, the fanatics?
But this is the thing, it doesn't usually take out the entire unit of dragon ogres. It might kill one, and then I've still got 2 dragon ogres that are able to go and do something, or 3 dragon ogres. So yeah, I have that surprised a lot of people when they were playing against me, that I was like, oh, I'm just going to run my dragon ogres into the middle of your fanatic, into your night goblins, and just popped like 3 or 4 fanatics. And they're just like, why are you wasting them? I was like, because now I don't need to come near where you are for a while.
Yeah.
Those fanatics can just run into your own guys for all I care. So, yeah.
Okay. But I suppose, well, if it hits the dogs, is it dead afterwards? Or the fanatic doesn't keep going? It's not, is it? So it goes through the dogs.
Pops out the other side. It like goes through the unit and pops out the side.
So if it kills, a dragon ogre, you can still kill it and keep going another direction.
So the way it works is like it hits it, and then it goes out the other side of the unit and just stops there. So it would kill something, and then I can decide whether I still want to carry on moving or stop where I am.
Yeah, that's right.
And then, so you want to carry on moving. Because if you stay where you are, you've got a good chance the fanatic coming back the other way in their turn and going through the unit again.
That's
but, yeah. A lot of people are like, oh, why are you throwing them into it? It's like, well, I can afford to lose one. They can still do the job I want them to do. So I'm not really that concerned about.
How many attacks is there on a dragon ogre? Can you think off the top of your head?
It's 4 attacks.
Okay, so you get rid of one, you're still smashing 8.
I'm still smashing through something.
Yeah.
So it's 3 attacks. It's 3 attacks. So even with 3 attacks, 2 of them are still doing a lot of damage. I take mine with great weapons, so the strength 7. So usually hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s, and they just ignoring everyone's save.
I suppose if they're fear as well, and you charge into some goblins, they're
and that's the thing.
That they're going, yeah.
So because everything in my army has fear, they become like a good fear bomb as well. Just charge them into it and watch night goblins either running away or not able to hurt the dragon ogres whatsoever.
Do you tend to, because I'm sure I've seen you use giants before as well, so it's kind of, do you use Shaggoths or giants, or do you choose
giants?
The 2? Why are the 2?
Just more fun. Like
they are fun to play with. Yeah.
I mean, I've got what are they called now? The 2. Is it a Gorgon, which is like in 6th or 7th edition?
It's like a 4-armed.
Yeah, that's
big
it.
Thing. Yeah.
So I've got 2 of them, and I bought them specifically as like they look like Beastmen giants, and I only take them when I want to have like a bit of randomness and a bit of fun in the army.
Yeah.
Because they can be the best thing in the world, or they could do absolutely nothing, and I have no idea which it's going to be. When they jump up and down, fall over, and they get beaten in combat, a 200 point unit just died for no apparent reason.
Well, I was doing well a while ago. I had one of me fen beasts against a giant. It was literally, he was going to get smashed, but just to try and hopefully hold him there for, if I could get 2 turns, I'd be happy with that. And he kept doing, because the giant had actually gone through a unit with like one big swing and then went on to the... And there's some rule, I can't remember the bit with, there's some option with the giant where if you roll a certain thing, you kind of do a matrix duck out of the way of the swing.
Yeah.
I got away with that a couple of times. And so they are really, I always find the giant's fun and the green skin magic, just the randomness of it. Anytime there's randomness of it, it's fun. But if you get a giant in combat, it's going to do something, innit? You know what I mean? If it doesn't fall over.
If it doesn't fall over, but like it can yell and ball as well, so the unit just automatically runs away.
Right.
Which it's like, oh yeah, that's great. Not if I don't chase it down, because I've actually done no damage to that unit whatsoever.
Yeah.
So if it rallies, it's still a full strength unit that can come back against me. So they're just there for laughs. I take 1 or 2, and everyone shoots at them. And I'm like, oh, you've killed my giant. but I don't really care because they're just there for a bit of good fun.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a lot of points, though, for a lot of good fun, isn't it?
But when your beast herd's like 100, like a standard beast herd, that takes like 120, 150 points.
Is that like a 20? Is that a 20 size, or
how
many's in a unit?
It's about 16, 18. I usually take a split of like whatever gore I want to take. I take the same ungore plus 2 as a rule of thumb.
You have more ungore than gore in it.
Yeah. Because
that's interesting.
They're my shields for my gore.
Oh, I never thought about it. Because I always, when I was considering it was always kind of like I would use enough just literally like expect them all to be dead by the time I got to combat. So maybe like a row of them, so to speak, or maybe 2. Or
so, in case that I want to use them into another combat, I always make sure that I've got enough gore to have like a couple of shots thrown at me.
Right.
So because they're skirmishers and you're shooting at -1, not apart from elves, nothing's really. Elves and dwarves, they can wear them down before they get there. Yeah. But I don't, I run on the fact that, I'm going to be able to get into combat, and I'd rather lose a couple of gore and I've still got more gore left over so I could go into another combat after that as well.
Okay. Is there any shooting in Beastman?
There is one unit that shoots. Just one unit.
What
and it's Centaur that throw axes. So out of all the units, only Centaur can shoot. And you just wouldn't, if you're able to shoot with your axes, you would probably just charge anyway. So I don't really get it.
But I suppose, especially when it comes to being Nurgle, Nurgle's magic makes up for the lack of shooting, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? What tends to be your number of power dice and dispel dice when you go into a game?
So I take 2 shaman heroes. So I'm getting 6 power dice in my turn. But I always take 2 power stones, 1 in each shaman.
Right, yeah.
I don't really go for the spell scrolls. I kind of always know that I want to throw more dice.
This is the bit I have to accuse you of, where Max in his podcast said that you once came up against him with 6 dispel scrolls. Is that true?
I didn't come up against him with 6 dispel scrolls. That's all.
He has got like 19 power dice, to be fair.
Yeah.
The 6 would be a bit.
No one can begrudge me taking that many against his army. That's all. When I played him once, I took a great bray shaman. So I actually had, and I took then 3 normal bray shamans.
Right. Was that just to get your dice up in an attack?
So just to get my dice up. And they were.
For anybody who did listen to Max Cooper's, he does Zinch army, and he's got a minimum of 13 power dice.
Yeah.
Was it a minimum? Should we say? So it's more about 15.
Yeah.
So it is heartbreaking when you've got looking at your 6 dispel dice.
The thing is, though, the Nurgle magic is just so good.
Yeah.
It's just so good. So there's a spell for every situation. So you can like halve people's movement. You can reduce characters' toughness in units. You can snipe characters out by getting to do toughness tests.
Which is the one that when we were playing, I've played Nurgle a couple of times, but I think it was only against you. Which it's like, it wasn't a remain in play spell, but it was remaining in play for some reason, and I didn't know why it was explained as, because it couldn't be dispelled, right? Once it's cast.
So
it goes
Pestilence.
On. Right.
Pestilence is the best spell in the game, bar none.
Right.
I will literally I'll stand up and argue anyone about this. So Pestilence has got like really random rules. If you cast it, nothing happens in your magic phase, that magic phase. But you only have, it remains in play because it's an effect, but it's actually not a remains in play card.
Because I do remember going, hang on, and grabbing the rule books and stuff. And it was kind of, because it doesn't remain, it's like, I don't know what the explanation was for it, but it was basically, it was the fact that, so it stays in the game, but once it's done, we can't dispel it?
Yeah.
How's that? Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so that there is the thing that just terrifies everybody. If you get that a couple of times, shamans, it's really hard to cast. It's like casting, it's casting an 11. But if you get that off and it's irresistible force, or they fail to dispel it, that unit's taking D6, strength 3, no armor save, wounds.
Oh, no armor save as well.
Yeah. But it's every magic phase, so it's yours and mine. So it just eats through units, and it's just, you know,
it's the fact you can't do anything about it once it's gone. It's like you know, like do you know what most like I don't know what the word for it is if it's not remain in play, but it's just kind of usually just got I'll get rid of it this turn. That's been doing me. But you just can't. It's just that unit is going to be dead eventually if you put it on a unit. But
that's the thing. So like I try and fish for it at least once. So one of my shamans will have a spell familiar. So I'm rolling for 5 spells across 2 shamans. So I'm trying to fish for that once. Now, no matter what, people will always throw the dispel scrolls at it. They will always throw the dispel dice at it. It's either the spell that I lead out with, like I'm going to cast Pestilence on that unit over there.
Well, that's one question I was going to ask. Where I've asked this with the other guys as well. Is kind of, are you the kind of guy who there's usually 2 train of thoughts? It's either you go for your big gun spell straight away to see what the spell scrolls they've got, or are you starting little with the weaker type of spells to get rid of some of their dice and then bring out the big guns? But I think that's usually if you've got a lot more dice than the other guy.
So if I've got a great bray shape, I usually tend to go out of it first because I've got enough dice to waste on it because I want people to do the dispel dice against all of the spell scroll. So I can do more things with like managing people's weapon skill, or just like they've got a really nasty magic missile that's D6 strength 4 hits. Which is brilliant again. So I want to cast that. But if I've only got like my 2 shamans, I usually wait until the end. And if I get it off, it's a bonus. What I want to do is get everything else off that you're going to just wait. You're just going to have to wait to see if I decide that I'm going to throw 5 dice at Pestilence with a Power Stone. If you've played me, you know I've always got a Power Stone on somebody. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to throw 5 dice at this, and you have to do something about it.
What are the other spells then? So you've got like Pestilence.
You've got Boils, which is D6 strength 4, kind of like a magic missile.
Why kinda? Is it more?
It just doesn't say it's a magic missile. That's all. It just.
So can you cast it if you're in combat and things?
It doesn't say you can.
But it doesn't say you can't.
But it doesn't say you can.
So that's who you're playing against, that one, isn't it? So...
I don't tend to cast it in combat, but I have seen people cast it in combat. So, you know, you have...
Can you do it 360? So instead of like your line of sight?
You've got to have line of sight. If your shaman's in a bray herd, you can pretty much see anywhere he wants anyway. So you're pretty good with it there. And then you've got one of my other favourite ones is Afflictions, which halves the movement speed of a unit, and that's a remains in play card. So if that goes off once, you've just like cavalry are taken out of the game. It makes flyers as well use their land speed. So a lot of flyers.
So it could go to like 3 or something like that. A lot of people move 20. They literally don't even go, they go like 4 or something.
Yeah. Now
can they march while it's on them?
Yeah, they can.
But they'd only march 4.
If you're marching with a flyer, it's usually marching 4 inches.
Right, okay.
So
okay. Well, that's quite good. I suppose if you've got Beastmen and their strength is their speed, you can take out whoever's speedy on the other army to...
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other 3 spells, I can never remember the names in the right order for these. So you have...
They're all very just disease names, like boils and warts.
Yeah. Do you know what?
I think boils is one, isn't it? Yeah, have you got... What have we got?
No. Poxes.
Boxes, that's one.
Which
one's
it
that?
reduces the unit's weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, and leadership by 1, and that remains in play. So it can really tee you up to being able to then take out a unit that's usually stronger than you.
Mm.
And then you've got buboes, where a single enemy model within line of sight within 18 inches must take a toughness test or suffer a wound with no armor save. So a lot of these are no armor save.
Because I suppose that's law. Makes sense in the law, doesn't it? Because it's diseases. Your armor shouldn't do anything.
Yeah. And then the last one, scabs, where you -1 to somebody's toughness, and that just happens. So you can pick a character in a unit, cast scabs, and then cast.
What's the distance on that? Is that anywhere, or is that distance?
18 inches.
Right.
So most of them are quite short. Most of them are 18 inches, but you can close that distance really well. Get there really quickly, so that's not a problem. So yeah, you can start sniping out people's wizards, making them toughness 2. Casting boxes, making them take toughness tests, and just start killing them off in that way.
Do you get your shamans into combat, or do you try and avoid them in combat?
No, always into combat as well.
Why?
Bray shamans,
bray staff, isn't it? Which
which it's a great weapon, which makes them strength 5, and unlike most wizards, they have 2 attacks, so they're actually really, really good at fighting. They're like most heroes, in all fairness. So I always put them into combat, always using the Bray staff as well. So yeah, really, really good. Their weapon skill 3, so the same as a normal human, strength 3, but toughness 4 still. So they're still hard to wound with normal infantry. Anything that's elite though just makes them a bit of a smear. Just deletes them straight away.
You've also got the option of doesn't it turn into armor? It's like if you don't use it as a great weapon, you can instead have like a 5-up save or something instead.
It gives you a 5-up save, yeah, but
never use that.
No, most things that are like gonna hurt me. If I've done a great weapon by charging you, if I'm getting hit, then I've done something wrong. Like if I've not killed the 2 things that can hurt me, then I've done something wrong there. So yeah, I've never used it as armor, but I've heard people like say, "Oh, I think they'll take the chaos armor," because there's a bit of debate whether you can take that, and it's like, "Oh, they've got a 2-up save now in combat," which is pretty decent, to be fair.
Do you find if those shamans get killed, your army's often in a lot of trouble? Or
yeah. So
that's why I was asking if they're always in combat.
Yeah. Nurgle magic is so good. It's so good, but it's not really why my army's in trouble if they get killed. It's the fact that those units no longer cause fear, and that's the biggest. Right. That's the biggest thing that my army does. Is the fact that everything causes fear. Everything's really quick. So if my shamans die, it's not a massive blow to its effectiveness, but it means that people are able to start engaging me on their terms, not on my terms. It's especially difficult when you come against like vampire counts and tomb kings that just ignore fear completely.
Yeah.
But against like humans, elves, Max's Kurgans, they like running away from my my units quite a lot. The fear is the huge strength that a Nurgle themed army has.
Okay, so what's Joe, the unruly rule as well? Do you find that affects you much?
Oh no, it happens now and again, and it always happens when you least want it to happen.
Well, do you want to explain what it is real quick?
So unruly is like at the start, before you're doing anything, you roll a d6, and on a 1, you have to move towards the closest unit, which is fine. That's not a problem because you're usually wanting to move towards the closest unit. And this only affects gore and ungore herds, bray herds. And you're not really that bothered
Vestigor don't, right?
Vestigor don't have it. Minotaurs don't have it. It's just your gore herds.
Right.
But there will be a time, because you can charge anything in any way because of the way the skirmishes are.
Mm-hmm.
You will go, oh, I'm going to charge that unit behind me that's 8 inches away. And a really good player will go, yeah, but there's something right next to you that's 2 inches away.
Yeah.
Roll your unruly dice. And
Right,
you do, and you find out that they fail you and start charging the thing that you didn't really care about. So there is that.
Then you're going to get sandwiched, aren't you, by the guy behind him.
And then you just get slammed.
Yeah.
There is that. It's not a massive problem. It happens now and again. It's kind of like a watered-down version of animosity for greenskimmers players.
That's what I was going to say.
It's not a huge negative at all. In fact, I think over like all the games I've played, it's only messed up my plans like once or twice.
Right.
I'm not really upset when it happens either, because it's like, oh, fair enough. I'll go that way instead. But if somebody wants to put flyers in your back line, they can start kiting around a few units if they fail it a few times, which is a massive problem.
Okay, so basically, what would be your kind of like top tips for like, right, you're going to become a beast. I suppose it'd be like the top tips for A, being a Beastman player, and B, playing against them. What would be your top tips?
So for
summarizing what we've been talking about, I suppose.
Being a Beastman player, my top tip probably is like try and have a smile on your face when you're pulling all your models off the table. You're gonna win some great games, and you're gonna win them when you think you're gonna lose.
But I think Beastmen is one of the. I think they're similar to my Dark Elf army in a way, where there's so much that can kind of like when you do get one. Do you like some armies are just kind of yep, got another win. But when you do get one, you're like, that is well deserved. It's just like you get that, the butterflies in the stomach. Like, I did it.
I'm going to go outside this gaming hall right now and bring my wife to celebrate. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Get the shepherd's pie out the freezer. We are celebrating.
Get out the Asti Spumanti. Gonna rock your world tonight. The Beastmen have won. Yeah. I do think it's like that. Like, if you win, doesn't matter if you win by like a minor victory or you snowplow somebody, it's a great victory and you love it. And there's some amazing bits that happen. But the very few and far between that, you love the army because of the models, you love the army because the way that they work.
Yeah.
It's not one of them that just is able to win all the time.
I think it's also an army that you can enjoy losing with them in a weird way. It can be heartbreaking, obviously, if you're close or whatever. But if the randomness, like with the giant, like say ambush turn up somewhere, that could actually make it fun in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? Because you probably get some, the arseholes of the win at any cost to be like, why would you do that? Be like, because it's a fucking game and it's supposed to be fun. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I think that for me is one of the things that really makes me like, you can be jovial, you can be laughing, you can be joking, and you can be swearing and saying that beast herd is never coming back on the table ever again to come off on somebody else's table 6 hours down or something. Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah, I think that's the thing. You just got to be like you play the army because you want a bit of randomness, you want a bit of fun. It can be pretty powerful, especially with I think with the Nurgle magic. I think we've taken a lot of Minotaurs.
The big monsters can do some damage.
Big monsters are always the way to go. When you're looking at special slots, how many Minotaurs have I got? If I've got and just take more. So I've got like 8. I'm going to take 4 more. I think that's a massive thing. Your rare slots, have you got a Shaggoth in there? Are you taking spawns? Are you taking giants? Anything there? It's just putting big monsters in there is always going to feel great.
Is there any other magic items we haven't really mentioned that you think are really put? Because I'm sure did we mention the banner which helps you charge again? Isn't there a banner which helps you?
There is.
Kind of like the spell, or is that the one we talked about with the ambush?
there's a magic item which adds, I think it's D3 to your charge range. I don't really use that because I take a Nurgle army. One of the items I really like is taking something called the Plague Chalice. So,
which one's that? I don't know that off the top.
All right, it's a one-use item, and I take a Strength 4 hit. Okay, but
what you do by taking it?
By taking it,
right.
So
this better be good.
It's like a cider of black, really, isn't it? Take a Strength 4 hit straight away. But for every double I roll, I cause irresistible force with the spell that I'm casting. So if I roll 2 2s and I get the spell to go off, it goes off irresistible force.
Is that just that turn?
That's just that turn. Yeah. But if you go really magic heavy, great shaman.
Is that just the guy that drank? So it's not like the whole lot. It's only one shaman.
So you do need it on like your big dude. You do need it on like your big shaman. If he's got the right spells, you take it in. You drink it in turn 2, and he's just throwing out loads of nasty stuff all the way around. So pestilence. If we're talking about that, you got one chance to get rid of it. Yeah. If I roll 11, but I've got 2 2s and I've drank that, you can't dispel it. That's it. It's on that unit now forever.
That could do some damage. That could be a good. What's the word? Not kind of like, because I've got a spell with my Dark Emissary, which I call the. Do you know, like the button that takes everybody down with me type thing?
Yeah.
Self-destruct button. Got fog of death. So that could be a good one where you're like, I'm going. You're like, you're leaving you. Is it? I'm going to try doing the one.
I'm going to chug on this, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
One of the other spells, if I am doing that, one of the other spells I like to take is one called the Gore Tooth.
Right. Yeah.
Which gives you the spell Bear's Anger to cast. Which pluses it pluses 1 to your strength, 1 to your toughness, and like 2 to your attacks.
Yeah.
So it makes you like really beefy in combat, but gives you hatred as well. So it's really, really good.
Oh, does it give you hatred? Oh,
yeah.
Because it's the lower beast spell essentially, isn't it? But just kind of in a just essentially turns you into a bear.
yeah. So it gives you all these buffs, and I kind of like taking that as well, but again, only if I've got like a great shaman, because as soon as you're like, I'm going to cast Bear's Anger, so it's like, no, you're not. Maybe that's just happening. Right. Your foe render's not turning into an absolute monster. No, that's not happening. Move on to your next thing.
Yeah, fair enough. Is there anything in the Beastman lore that you liked? Is that the choice you made? Is anything like any reason why you chose the Beastman? Is there anything in the storytelling side of it you actually enjoy about the Beastman?
So, when I first got into the hobby, I used to collect wood elves.
Right.
And what I really like about the Beastmen is that they spend most of the day murdering wood elves.
Just terrorizing wood elves.
Just terrorizing wood elves. Just like being absolute nightmares.
Who's what's his name? Shadowgrave? Isn't it? Where he just keeps done that every time the wood elves kill him. He pumps up a different side of the country. He just heads back there.
I think one of the things that I do like about Beast is like Games Workshop do the goat side, but the idea is that there are loads of different types of Beastmen all the way around.
Yeah, this was like bears, like reptile type ones,
tigers. It's all these different types, and the other thing as well, like Beastmen can be painted in any way because they just all come together underneath this really strong leader. And I like the idea of that as well. So like you've got a bray stone, and they all come round, and they're all kind of like shamanistic and ritualistic, and they're all following this great strong leader. And I really like the idea of that. But you could have Beastmen are not supposed to be uniform, so you can just paint them any colours you wanted.
Yeah.
You could have purple ones, you can have pink ones, you can have brown ones, whatever. And I think that's great. Something that's really, really good. It's just a modelling opportunity.
I did toy with the sensor because I've always kind of liked Beastmen in terms of I think it's quite a very Warhammer-y type armor. I know there's certain fantasy stories that are kind of similar beast type things, but I was considering painting an albino Beastman army? Do you know, as if it's like all the outcasts that the Beastmen didn't want.
Yeah.
But there was like, so they all got like white and pink eyes and things like that, kind of like. So they all look like big Skaven grey seers. But I think I'll do that one day. But it's just, when you try and do an army which nobody else has got or sounds a bit different, or that was my idea for Beastmen. So I might get there eventually. But
so all mine are grey. And I know I've said like you can paint them anytime, any colour you want, but all mine are grey. So like kind of like decaying flesh as well, like sort of like that really horrible sort of look. But like I like how the fact they put war paint on, and they're kind of like for me the in Game of Thrones kind of like the what they call now, the guys beyond the wall.
The
free folk. That's what Beastmen to me are. They're like the free folk. They've been corrupted by chaos, but the free folk, they don't answer to anybody. They're still deep within sort of like shamanic roots, and I just love that sort of idea of this mass being brought together just because there's like one guy who's stronger than the rest or better than the rest.
I quite like the what's the word? I like the fact that because I like to convert models and stuff. I don't know. I get bored and ADHD or whatever. So it's just kind of, when you can kind of. I like the fact that they pick up so they're wearing stuff that they might have killed an empire lord and he's wearing his armor or something like that. So you can keep adding bits to it. Because I don't exactly have blacksmiths. Yeah.
So they're like picking up, like, that looks decent, I'll have that. But it's like hanging off them. It's really weird. And so you've just got like loads of modelling opportunities for them as well. Because if you can, if you get any sort of humanoid character, you can add the legs and add the head. Yeah. So my characters are all made out of Blight Kings, which are like Nurgle humans. But I've cut off all the feet, and they've all got hooves. I've cut off all the heads. They've all got Beastman heads. So that's the idea behind that. And I do love going and thinking, I really like that model. How can I turn that into a cool-looking Beastman? So it's one of the main things. Just like the modelling, you can do loads of stuff with them. Loads.
Cool. Sweet. All right. So I know I was going to ask you if you wanted anybody else to know in terms of like anything going on with Road to ReIkland this year. In terms of we're going to do another event next year, or what's any plans? Or
so we were thinking about doing another event, but there's probably an event that's getting even more traction, and there's had an amazing trailer come out on one that I know that both me and Max are really keen to go into as well.
I see what you're doing here. I see where you're going with.
And the fact it's only round the corner from my house as well.
So I was going to ask, what are you looking forward to War of the Ever Chosen? but you can't just say it's a 5-minute walk from my house. That's not a glowing testimonial for how good this event is. So I can see it from my house. Yeah, I'm going to that one. Awesome.
I thought that was it. I had to say that. All right. No, I know that you've got some great ideas for it. I like the setting that you've put into that already. The venue is a really good venue as well. It's in a really nice, accessible place, so that's really good. Really keen at seeing what you do with the missions and stuff like that. I know that we talked quite a lot drunkenly last time we were on about what you were going to do with it. So I think the whole premise that you've got good guys with conversations
so
that are going to be bad guys, and I kind of like that idea as well. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. Road to ReIkland. We will do something again. We will start bringing it back into that podcast. We will start doing something again. It will be, Max has got his podcast, his YouTube channel. We might tie it into that in the future.
I really enjoyed those events, mate. So I was just saying, if the next time they do pop up, everybody keep an eye out for those, because they're a good laugh and there's real good scenarios, and
the terrain's really good. Apparently, I've heard.
Who did them?
But no. Thanks for that. We try and put on a good show. We've done events for the past 8 years in various different game sets. Always like to have something quite unique. And we always like to have it so your character is a representation of you on the board.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
my character is Phil Gore the Fowl. No points for originality there for the name, but I've got a huge story about Phil Gore the Fowl and what he's done and how he's interacted within the old world. So it's great when you put him on the table that we use like a character progression system. So he really feels like that's how I would be if I'm a half-dead Nurgle mutated Beastman in a fantasy world.
But yeah, no, everybody should really look out for those because they were really cool, and hopefully we can see Phil Gore. Was it Phil Gore, did you say?
Phil Gore the Fowl.
So we could also see if Phil Gore goes for the title of Ever Chosen at War of the Ever Chosen as well. Do you think he could do it?
He will be there. He will be there. Interestingly, I've always spelled Phil Gore the Fowl with an F. I played a guy recently called John who did a write-up of the battle and spelled it with a PH. And I never realised that. I always rhymed my name with foul, not. So that was interesting.
All right, mate. Well, thanks so much for your time. Cheers for coming on. It was a good laugh, and hopefully it's some good advice there for Beastmen guys. To try. The advice wasn't just get used to getting hammered. There was actually some really cool advice in there for you. But yeah, mate. Thanks so much for your time, and
no worries.
But cheers.
All right. Take care.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's this week's episode. Thanks to Phil for the fun chat. You can search for his podcast, Road to ReIkland, somewhere wherever podcasts can be found podcasting. And look out for upcoming events if you play tabletop in the UK. Speaking of upcoming events, make sure you check out War of the Ever Chosen, our 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy event in February in Manchester. Go to Tales from the Old World website or click the link in this podcast to find out more. So that's it. Next week, I'm going to be talking to Matt Deary about fighting demon armies. So look out for that. Bye.
Tales from the Old World, a Warhammer Fantasy podcast, sponsored by War of the Ever Chosen, a 6th edition fantasy event with some of the most fun and unique scenarios in the hobby. Go to talesfromtheoldworld.com to get your tickets today to claim the title of Ever Chosen.